Well, welcome to another edition of a Trekzone Conversation. I've got a couple of very special guests, including one here in the studio. She's just put her head down, unfortunately. Trek Geek Bill, Trek Geek Dan, they were last here at STLV. They're in their home environments now, so they're even crazier today. They're talking about a very special live stream that they've got coming up in a couple of days. I'm going to chat to them right after the opener.
Across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts and YouTube, this is the 8th season of a Trekzone Conversation with Matt Miller.
There is plenty of distraction in the Trekzone studio at the moment, and there's also plenty of distraction right here on the screen as well. Bill and Dan, I caught you the flower pot men back in Vegas. Welcome back to Trekzone.
So great to be here, Matt. Thank you both for having us.
Yeah.
We know who the hardest working person in that studio is,
and it's not me.
It's not you. Yeah.
I'm going to fly to Australia and take that dog.
Yes.
That's adorable.
Actually, you know what's really funny? I've called her the Trekzone mascot because she's appearing in a lot of the backgrounds in my intros and stuff now. And a couple of Facebook memories cropped up for me in which I had Spike as our mascot, who's the Maltese Shih Tzu. He's asleep in bed at the moment, but I realized that I've betrayed him and also sacked him as the mascot, replacing him with a younger model.
Bill keeps trying to do that to me, so yeah, I understand.
Yeah, younger and smarter model in Dan's case. Applications being taken now. Go to trekgeeks.com.
Well, speaking of the Trek Geeks, and we should get serious for a second, because the reason that you guys are here is that there's a very special charity live stream coming up on Thursday, I believe it is.
It is Thursday, June 11th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going live to Facebook and YouTube for a special conversation with Star Trek The Next Generation's Jonathan Frakes, all to benefit Feeding America, which is a charity that works with food pantries and food banks all over the United States to help with food insecurity. There was, Dan and I have both seen one too many reports on the news of families who are having a harder time making ends meet during this pandemic. Grocery prices here in the United States have gone up significantly. And there was one report in particular that really affected me, where one, mother said that she would have to keep her family from eating one meal a day just to make ends meet. And that didn't sit well with me. We couldn't, let something like that go unaddressed, at least from our perspective. We figured we have microphones. There's something we can do. So there's something we're going to do.
Dan, what does this stream mean for you?
Helping people is the most important part of what we're doing. It's so awesome to have a legend like Jonathan Frakes come and donate his time to talk to us so that we can help raise money for Feeding America. One of the stats that Bill came across was that $1 donated to this charity equals 10 meals. And that's a mind-boggling number. $1 is 10 meals. So we put a first level goal of $2,000. So that's, math is not my forte. So that's a lot of meals. So we thought that this is a great way to help people. Like Bill said, there's so much going on right now with this pandemic, and not just the United States, but all across the world. But this organization helps people in the United States. And we have the pandemic of COVID-19. We have fires burning in cities. We have racism running rampant in the United States right now. And this is a way to escape all of that, for even if it's just for a little bit of time. And why not do it with an unbelievable, legendary actor and director and two weirdos from New Hampshire? I think it's going to be a fun night.
How does one get Jonathan Frakes on their live stream? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, sure. Pure, unadulterated luck. I knew someone that knew Jonathan. And I said, look, I don't want to put you in an awkward position, but is there any way you think Jonathan would be amenable to doing something like this? And he said, I don't know, let me ask. And within the hour, that person got back to me with Jonathan's agent information. And then I contacted his agent. And within that hour, I had heard back that Jonathan said yes instantly, that he'd love to help us out.
Oh, wow.
So it was just a remarkable stroke of luck and asking the right question of the right friend at the right time. It occurs to me that this is kind of what Trek family is built for. That's what we refer to the Star Trek fan base as. Our fandom is wired to help people in this particular instance. The infinite diversity and infinite combinations. The fact that in Gene Roddenberry's future, hunger is gone, disease is gone. All of those things that affect societies are gone. And although that's not true of today, we can help a little bit, and that's why we're doing this charity live stream for Feeding America.
Yeah, and one of the things, Matt, that I thought was so interesting about this, when Bill, I got to give all the credit in the world to Bill. He ran with this, and he was able to get in contact with the people. And when he told me how quickly Jonathan came back and said, "Yeah, this sounds like a great idea. I'll be happy to do it," it showed me something that we already knew. We already know what a great guy Jonathan is and what a big heart he has. This is proof of that. For him to donate his time to two strangers who have only said hi to him at conventions from time to time, to come on and help raise money for a really important cause. So hats off to Jonathan.
It really is showing, as you say, Bill, the Trek family, the real Trek family, not those outliers that bemoan and whinge all the time and can't find any positive and think that Star Trek's not about current world issues at the time of production, and concerningly how relevant TOS episodes are becoming once again. And also, I was talking on the Science podcast last week about the dichotomy of America, how on one hand it can be so, people can be starving in the streets, racism can be rampant, minorities are vilified and quashed. And then on the other hand, you've got SpaceX launching astronauts into space, and you've got the pursuit of commercial spacecraft, and you've got this enhancement of human scientific knowledge. Just this massive dichotomy and contradiction in a way that America is. Being Americans yourself, obviously, how is everything playing out? What are your thoughts when you're seeing the newscasts each day? And obviously the big caveat. Sorry, Dan, I just wanted to put the caveat on there that we are recording about a week ahead of releasing this. So where we're at here now, the riots are still continuing, the protests are still continuing, the impacts of George Floyd's murder are still being felt very heavily, not just in America but around the world. So that's sort of where we're at with this show and where we're talking from and releasing in the future.
Well, I guess the way I can put it is we don't usually talk politics on Trek Geeks, but I'll bring it in a little bit right now. Last night I watched television, and last night, from when we're recording here, was the night that peaceful protesters were tear gassed in Washington, D.C., so that the President of the United States could have a photo op at a church that was vandalized the night before. And I looked at my wife, and for the first time since all of this has been going on, and all the other times that have been going on throughout the course of the years with racism problems and police brutality in America, I looked at her and I said, "Hun, I'm scared." And that's the first time that I've said that, and it's the first time that I have been. I'm very, very fearful for what the future is going to be. And I actually tweeted out the other night that I'm doubting whether or not this Gene Roddenberry vision of what Star Trek, of the future that Star Trek holds, is ever going to be obtained because of the stupidity of people today. I hope I'm wrong, but man, it seems that we're going downhill a lot faster than we're climbing any steps. What do you think, Bill?
No, I have to agree with you. I mean, it's hard. It's difficult to wake up every morning and look at the news and see what went south the night before. Whether it's the pandemic, or whether it's the riots or the murder of an innocent man, or whether it's the hurricane season starting, or whether it's earthquakes, it very much feels like the end of the world in many respects for those who believe in that kind of thing. And it's hard to stay positive. It's hard to stay focused. And I think that's the other reason we wanted to do something special, is because for an hour or an hour and a half or whatever the time winds up being, we get to have a little bit of a break, a little bit of solace, an oasis from all of that. And that's the other thing. It's given us something to focus on. It's giving us something to devote our efforts to, aside from the normal podcast production, so that maybe we can unplug from everything and just breathe a little bit, because it's really hard watching the news every day right now.
Matt, let me ask you a question if I could, since we're talking about this. As someone who's not in the United States, how are you taking all of this in, of what you're seeing happening over here?
Yeah, it is hard to watch, and working in television news here in Australia, as well as my other job is, seeing those raw feeds coming in and seeing journalists under attack.
Mm-hmm.
There was one that I was watching. There was a Fox broadcast. Can't exactly remember where it was, but they were pushed back by the police in a sporting field into a chain link fence. And you've got the presenters in the studio saying that's a really bad place, and their security detail is just grabbing them by the flak jackets that they're having to wear, and the gas masks that they're wearing, and they're pulling them away from these situations. To think that is happening in I was going to say suburban America, but America at all, in any part of the United States of America or South America or Canada, or, you know, to see that happening in what we class as the first world is, you know, and that in itself is a really bad thing to say. Just to think that is happening anywhere in the world is absolutely abhorrent. To think that's in the place of freedom, of the land of the free, the home of the brave, that is, wow. And to have a president that comes out every day doubling down on what he said the day before, instead of calming down and instead of doing things. And that church for the photo op, turns out that it was an Episcopal church. So they want nothing to do with him.
Right.
And none of the people in the church knew that was going to happen. Nobody was told that it was going to happen. It just happened. And that's what we're dealing with right now.
And you know what? I can believe that Trump would do that. And his Secret Service, the poor guys that they are, they're charged to protect the President of the United States, whoever that may be, whatever his thoughts may be. Their job is to protect him, and they've got to do what they've got to do. And the unfortunate thing here is that he's, you know, and police chiefs are coming out now and saying, Mr. President, shut up if you've got nothing good to say, because, you know, you're seeing more and more police, more and more good police. I think that's the crucial thing here, is that the entire police force and the entire military police and the state guard, they're not all bad eggs. They're all being tarred with the same brush. But there are, it's the systemic nature of it is just incredible. And wow, how political are we getting? But it deserves attention. It deserves to be talked about in whatever medium that we have available to us, and this is the way that we can do it here. And it's not just in America that these things, that minority groups are oppressed. Here in Australia, the only difference between America and Australia with First Nations peoples, for us, is that we didn't have a war over slavery, but we stole a generation of our first peoples in the 1960s because it was better for them to live with white people. We murdered them, tens of thousands, if not millions of them, when the British first came here, and stuck up statues of James Cook, who supposedly found the land. Let's just completely ignore the Dutch that found it a couple of hundred years before. The only difference was they didn't care about it, and the British needed somewhere to put their criminals. So, you know, funnily enough, that's what happened in America as well. And then America said, well, we're sick of that.
Much,
so you're the reason that Australia was created. Thank you for that, by the way.
Well, we're just doing our part. You know, what can I say? It's really weird because 2020 we thought was going to be, the pandemic was going to be the worst thing about the year. And I feel like 2020 keeps saying, wait a second, hold my beer.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. What does the next month bring?
Sure. That's it. And we're at June, and we've gone from pandemic to well, in Australia earlier this year you had the fires, so we've gone from fires to pandemic, now to civil unrest. I shudder to think at what the rest of the year is going to bring.
Now, on the flip side, what I would like to say is as hard as it is, I try to stay focused on things that are positive as much as I can. And with all the bad things that are going on right now, there are still good things. And what we've seen as a result of our announcement about this discussion with Jonathan Frakes shows the positivity that still exists out there. We're allowing people to donate early, and the amount of graciousness that people have showed us already is just astonishing. We're in a pandemic situation. There are, what's the number, Bill? 26 million people out of work currently in the United States because of the pandemic.
Something like that,
people still know that helping fellow men and women is something that they should do. So even when times are tough, we're having contributions come in, and we are eternally thankful to that. Bill and I and Trek Geeks is never going to see one single penny of this. It all funnels right to Feeding America through the platform that they have in place for us to do this fundraiser. And it's nice to see that there is still goodness in the world with what seems to be such a cloud of darkness over us right now.
This is the kind of thing too, where small dollar donations have a huge impact.
Yeah.
You know, Dan gave us the math earlier that $1 equals 10 meals. A $5 donation is 50 meals. If you think that's not an impact, you got to think again, because that's an impressive amount that $5 whole can do. We're at a point now where Dan said our initial goal was $2,000. At this point, this fundraiser's only been open a couple of days. We haven't even streamed anything yet, and we're already at almost $1,300. Oh, wow. That's 13,000 meals that people who didn't have them are going to receive. And that's a huge impact, especially with the level of food insecurity during this pandemic.
And what, as you say, donations are open ahead of the stream. So where can people go if they're wanting to donate?
We're putting all the information on our website at trekgeeks.com/donate. From there, there's a link to each of the live streams on YouTube and Facebook for when they go live. There's information about the the Feeding America COVID-19 Response Fund on the Tiltify platform, which is where the fundraising occurs. And there's a big old link that says donate now with a big red button. So you want to go there, or if you have questions, you can always hit us up on social media at Trek Geeks, just about everywhere.
Fantastic, guys. Well, looking forward to that live stream. Once again, Thursday at 8:30 Eastern, I believe it is.
That's correct. Thursday, June 11th, 8:30, Facebook and YouTube.
Which is from when we're recording this, if my phone... The Galaxy S10 is really terrible with its fingerprint recognition. I'm trying to get my clock up. So it's 6:30 at the moment as we're recording this at 8:30 in the morning, which means that you'll be going live at 10:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time on the Friday morning. This is, as you mentioned, Bill, at the start of the show, it's not just an American problem, but obviously you guys are looking after the American need for meals for people that are starving. There is a global crisis going on, but in this live stream, you guys are focusing on the American problem, which just seems to have blown everyone else out of the water. Nobody does pandemics like America.
We're really, go USA. Well, Feeding America works with over 200 food banks and pantries all over the United States. We wanted to have an impact close to home. And then we decided we could have an impact on a small national level, but we also wanted to set an example. We hope that this is the kind of thing that other Star Trek fans and other Star Trek podcasters employ in their own areas, whether they be in the United States or not, because there is more we can do as people.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I think that's where we should wrap it up. We haven't solved any world problems, but we're looking to address them and shining a light. I think that's the biggest thing that we as podcasters can do is shine a light, continue shining that light, and help shine that light on all of these injustices that are happening in the world and seemingly focused and centralized all on America at the moment.
Unfortunately, but we're going to do everything we can to do our part.
Stay the course.
Absolutely. Bill, Dan, thanks so much for your time, and good luck with the live stream.
Always
Thanks
good to
so
see
much.
you, Matt.
Live long and prosper.